Hey everyone, it's Nick with the Whip Shop, and on today's video we're going to be repairing the bullwhip that changed my life. 7 years ago I uploaded a video how to make a paracord bullwhip. Although the momentum of the video didn't pick up right away, after a few weeks it started escalating. It started going up and up and up and up until the video was growing exponentially. There was a vast array of people contacting me for different reasons. Some people were saying, thank you so much, this changed my life, this helped me to overcome my addiction, this helped me recover when I was, after I had a traumatic brain injury. Other people were calling me and telling me how horrible I was of a person for teaching the world how to make a deadly weapon. So quite a lot of different responses from different people. I wanted to just put something out there. I was excited about this new craft that I learned. So I made the video, and the rest is history. I'm very thankful that the video did so well. So many people have created whip making companies, people who were struggling. It means so much to me and gives me a sense of purpose that video helped you do more than just learn how to make a whip. Helped you in your personal lives, your struggles, healing, what have you. And that means the world to me. After I uploaded that video, I took the whip and I put it up on eBay. I didn't have a website back then, but that's where I was selling all of my whips, on eBay. So fast forward a couple weeks, a fellow named Ryan bought the whip. Ryan's been enjoying this whip for the past 7 years, but it came time the whip needed a tune-up.
Hi there, I'm Ryan, and this is my whip from Nick's Whip Shop. This is the whip that he made in his first whip making tutorial. I've had it out quite a bit over the past little over 6 years. I'll give you a little demonstration. So, it still works fairly well, but I think it can work a little bit better. So Nick, I'm sending it off to you in hopes that you can bring it back to its former glory.
And here it is. It came in the mail. Thank you so much, Ryan. I know this sounds silly to a lot of you guys, but my hands are kind of shaking a little bit. I know it's probably stupid sounding, but I haven't seen this whip in 7 years. This is the whip that changed my life. I don't know how else to say it. So I'm about to open it right now. I haven't seen this whip in 7 years. Watch me cut it. No, I'm just kidding. I won't do that, Ryan. I'm not going to cut your whip up. Just going to get it started here. Here we go. This is it. We can kind of scrutinize my craftsmanship too. We'll do that in this video also. Whoa! This is a 3D printed little, like a little chip. Look at that. Bro, thank you so much. Here is the whip, guys. Wow. It's incredible to see it again after all these years. What I'm doing for Ryan is I am just giving this thing a tune-up. I'm gonna wax the whip for him. I'm gonna be replacing the fall and just dressing up everything at the end because it is coming apart. But other than that, this is how a bullwhip with no binding and electrical tape holds up after 7 years. Let's go crack it and see how it is in its current condition. It just rained, so the ground's pretty muddy, but I'm just gonna do a couple of overhead cracks with it. Yeah, the cracker is, it's a little worn out. Beautiful. So in the original video, I just taped it with electrical tape, and I didn't actually put a heel knot and a transition knot on this whip until I decided I wanted to sell it. It's probably a good thing that I didn't have any Turk Said Knot tutorials back then, because I obviously had no idea what I was doing. Look at that. Whew. Yeah, it's a nasty one. Anyhow, taking a look at the whip, 12 flat, you can see the way that angle is right there. It definitely could have used a few more strands. Obviously nowadays I'm doing a 16 flat instead of 12. Working our way down the whip. Flatting doesn't look too bad, but you can see this angle is really, really steep this way. And that kind of indicates to me, in hindsight, 7 years later in my whip making career, that more strands definitely could have been used. The less surface area in an overlay you have to cover a particular belly, the angle will become steeper to compensate. So you can see that really needed to be a little different. So there's the whip, and this is what we're going to be repairing first. You can see that's poking through. And on this whip, I wasn't tying the fall hitches the way I do now, so that's one of the reasons that it slipped out. So overall, this whip is unfortunately going to lose a few inches at the end just because I don't have a lot of strands to work with on those tails from the fall hitch. But once we get a nice long fall with a nice cracker, I think we're going to have this thing cracking again in no time. Alright, we're going to make the fall of our whip. First of all, we're going to start with getting 4 feet of paracord. We all have regrets in our lives, no doubt, but if I could go back 7 years, I'd do one thing. The whole video could have been like that. Well, here we are, guys, out in the garage that I was in 7 years ago. I'm a hopeless nostalgic. I had to dig out the shirt. Maybe it's funny, maybe it's not anymore. I don't know. This is where the whip was born. Right here. This is a different vise. The old one had some stripped screws and had to get another one. But anyway, there's some familiar faces. There's some old friends that stuck around all these years. We got, for example, the red air compressor hose that starred in the original video. The old workbench here, still ticking. The old cabinets down here. A little blast from the past. I just like that kind of stuff. I like completion, you know, 7 years and everything. It's like, why not? So anyway, I'm measuring out 4 feet for the fall. Once again, this is 550 parachute cord, 4 feet long, just like 21-year-old Nick did it back in the day. And I don't even know why I'm showing you guys this. You know how to make a fall. It's just for the nostalgic purpose. Telling you guys, I'm a hopeless nostalgic. I'm one of those people who, like, I know I can, like, kind of lightheartedly joke about it, but I have a really hard time letting go of old times. It's something I don't talk to too many people about, but it's true. Before we go any further, I want to mention a really cool video that Ryan, the owner of this whip, made. If you go up there and click that link, it'll take you to Ryan's YouTube channel. And he just did a really cool overall video about the whip. Just some history about when he got it, why he's into whips and stuff like that. So it's a really, really well edited video. Check out that link up there. All right, guys, I got the whip in the clamp and we're getting ready to untie this fall hitch and replace the fall. I'm going to be using a longer fall because we are going to just lose a few inches on the end here. I did things differently back then, and we're going to repair the whip in such a way that it kind of preserves and grandfathers in this old way of doing things, which is not the best way by any means. It's just kind of like restoring an old car. You put old pieces in it. You restore it the way that it was built, so that's what we're going to do with this whip. That makes sense. I don't know. Check this out, though. 7 years ago, 7 years later. Isn't that crazy? That just blows my mind sometimes. Watching a video of myself, you know, talking about something that many years ago. There's older ones too than that, of course, but recently my brother, he, for Christmas, I'm just going to literally untie all these strands here from the fall hitch. This was Ryan's temporary makeshift way of holding this in place. But anyhow, my brother, for Christmas, he purchased this service where I could send in a bunch of old videotapes from 20 years ago of he and I. We used to make videos together, and just a very, very important part of my life that I miss a lot. And I got to see all those tapes again, digitalized, you know. Just brought all those memories back. So now I'm just going to go up the line and undo these knots. But yeah, I'd like to, I know I've oftentimes said on the podcast that I like the podcast to be a place where we talk about life, you know, more than just whips and whip making. So if you guys have any stories that you feel comfortable sharing with me and everybody else in the comment section. I'd really love to hear, you know, just things you miss, maybe how you've, you know, come to terms with the changing times and just, you know, doing different things in your life now and just letting go of those, the way things used to be in your life. I'd like to hear about it. How do you cope with, well, sometimes an unhealthy amount of nostalgia, you know? Asking for a friend. All right, so the fall just came off, and Ryan has requested that all the pieces of this whip be sent back to him. And speaking of nostalgia, I completely sympathize with him on that. So I will gladly do so. It's become a kind of a special whip over the years. So I'm going to move this camera in. And I know I said that we would lose several inches of the end. I told Ryan that. But looking at it now, I don't think we're going to lose hardly anything. The reason that you usually lose a little bit of the overall length of a whip when you do a repair is because when you go to cut these strands at the end, like you just tied your fall hitch and snip them, usually these strands are just really short. So in order to tie those half hitch knots, you have to have more to tie those. Like if you're working with a strand that's this long, like how do you tie, you know what I mean? So that's why you have to like unravel and lose like an inch. And that's probably what we're going to lose on this whip. Ryan, I'm going to do my darndest to save as much as I can to the original length of this whip. So I'll show you how I'm going to do this. Man, this is back in the day when I ended whips. This is like that Atwood stuff, guys. This is not sinker cord. I hadn't even heard of sinker cord when I made this whip. So we're overexposed on the hands, aren't we? Yes, we are. There we go. Anyhow, I cannot even express how much of a treat it is to be like handling this whip again. Like it's so special to me. When Ryan contacted me a few months ago and told me, hey man, I don't know if you remember me. I'm the one that bought your whip. I'd love to get a little fall replacement. I was like, I felt like a giddy little kid, you know. I was all excited, and right then and there, the video popped into my head. This video that I'm making now popped into my head, like greeting an old friend after 7 years, you know. And Ryan liked the idea, and he was kind enough to let me hang on to it for the duration of how long it would take to make the video. Yeah, you know what? I think we can get away with one more strand. There we go. Let's just try it. Yeah, Ryan, you'll lose half an inch. That's not bad. So here's the new fall. Opening up the eye. This isn't really a tutorial, guys. This is just me kind of talking, hanging out. So there's kind of become a standard for these videos on this channel. What I mean by that is I'll shoot a video and I get all these shots that I'm really excited about. Like there was one with the drone for the 12-foot whip tutorial. I've been doing a lot of cinematic stuff that I, quite frankly, just enjoy doing. But then I'm like, well, every video has to be like that. And my friends, when I hang out with my friends, I discuss that with them. And they're like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be crazy production value every time. So fall behind there. Here's the moment of truth. I'm almost tempted to do, let's try, see if we can get away with this. Maybe, you know what? We might not lose any length on this whip because I didn't trim those strands very short. So it's about half an inch. Let's try this. Here we go. Here's the first one. Oh, there's a beautiful thunderstorm coming. You can hear the thunder rolling in the distance. So this is short. I don't have to mark these. I can tell which ones I've already been half hitched. There's the second one. Here comes the third one. Yeah, I think this will work fine. And here's the last one. I might be pushing it just a tiny bit because this is something I didn't do in the original tutorial. I didn't take that last strand and pop it through the fall hitch, and that's why so many people who watched that video said, hey, why are my... Yeah, see that? I don't think that's going to work out. We might have to eliminate a little bit more, unfortunately. But let me pull it and see where that puts us. No, we are going to be able to do it. Look, see that? That strand reaches up and we'll be able to tuck it underneath the fall. And that locks the fall hitch in place. It's something I didn't used to do. I didn't know any better at the time. Now I'm going to come and individually tighten these strands. Whoa. Yeah, back in the day I didn't know anything about copyright music, so I'd usually, right about now, have some Joe Satriani cranking in the background. So if you hear it any spots in the original tutorial making this whip where it was just dead air, like I literally hear nothing. What is going on? That's because I had to go in there after the fact. I got a bunch of copyright strikes, so I had to, I literally had to go through and through YouTube's editor and silence different parts of the video so I could keep it up without any problems, without the artists getting mad at me. Yeah, I'm just going to try to pull this a little bit more. This thing's going to be cracking again in no time, Ryan. A lot of videos were made, I don't know about a lot, but a lot of strong opinions were formulated because of the original video, because of this whip. One of them being electrical tape. A lot of people were very angry about the fact that I used electrical tape. And that's all I knew how to do back then. Are there better ways? Absolutely there are better ways to make a whip. There we go. See that? That's going to lock this into place. There was one video in particular that was, I'm pretty sure, a video response to me. It wasn't plainly stated that way, but it was quite obvious that the reason that the video was made, it's all about how electrical tape is horrible in a whip and this and that. But anyhow, this whip has no binding in it, as you recall, and it's we're gonna find out how it cracks after 7 years. Bullwhip with pure electrical tape for binding. We're gonna find out, aren't we? So there we go. I'm happy with that. I'm gonna go through these one more time. It's a little bit bulkier of a fall hitch, just because we're working around 1/4 inch Atwood cord, But that looks nice. I'm going to give that fall a little tug there. I am not going to trim these anymore. I'm not going to do it because down the road, maybe 7 years later, this whip will be here again. That'd be a treat to see it for the 3rd time. But I am going to just singe the ends here, melt those ends just to keep it, encourage it to not fray. And then what we're going to do with this is how I used to do it. I used to just melt that and push it in, and that's what we're going to do. Hey, Tipper. Look at that. So I'm going to take my scissors here, and I'm going to just cut the end of that off and get this real hot and melt it. And I'm going to push that into the hitch. Look at that beautiful flame. And then just broadside the lighter, push it in. That's how I used to make whips. That's how we're repairing this whip. We're restoring it to keep its sentimental value, I guess you could say. There we go. Sweet. All right, on the other side of the fall, move the camera. Old friend from 7 years ago. And now, and then the next thing will be to give this whip a dip in the wax. It's never been waxed before. My brother's getting married in a couple weeks, and this is his wedding gift. It's a North American robin, and if you guys want to see a video of feeding these birds, this bird actually in particular, check that video up in the right hand corner. You might enjoy it. Alright, a little dip in the wax, and it'll be time to test crack this thing. This is the first layer of wax this whip has ever gotten. It's never been waxed before. Alright. I didn't used to wax my whips a long time ago just because, quite frankly, I didn't know any better. I didn't know that some people did it. The first time I ever heard about waxing whips was through a video from Rhett Kelly of cowwhips.com. I don't believe that Rhett is still making whips. Maybe he does on the side, but I don't think he's doing it full time like he used to. Move this bad boy out of the wax. Alright. I'm just going down the whip like I do now with a paper towel. This just keeps the wax from puddling and collecting in too thick of an area. You know, layers of wax that don't soak in all the way just get stripped away by this, and it helps it, in my opinion, to be much better. So now that the whip is waxed, there's one last thing we have to do, and that is tie on a cracker. Then we're going to take the whip in the back and we're going to test crack it. Now it's been obviously 7 years since I've cracked this whip with a good cracker on it, ready to go. So I'm just poking a hole in the end of this. Through there, looping it through. This is just how I tie on crackers nowadays. The wax gave this whip a little more weight than it's ever had, but it's very important, I think, to do that because it's going to protect the whip. Alright guys, our bull whip is complete. Let's take it out and test it. Alright, well this will be the first crack ever of this whip. And 7 years later, here is perhaps the last time I'll ever crack this whip. Hopefully not, but let's see how it goes. We got it cracking again, Ryan. So it's the next day, and I wanted to test this thing in the daylight for you guys, just so you could see how it cracks after 7 years. So here's a better view of the rollout, which I was very surprised about the preservation of the loop that forms. This whip it has no binding in it at all. It's just electrical tape. So obviously it could be better. It's a pretty loose transition as bull whips go, but I think it could be a lot worse. I'm not necessarily defending my old ways of making a whip, but if you follow the instructions in that video, it'll yield something that works okay. So here's it cracking a little bit. Remember, there's a lot of BBs in this whip, right? There are a lot of BBs in the core, so that gives a little bit more weight. And after the waxing I gave it, this whip has never been waxed before, ever. So that actually did quite a bit of work, adding to more mass, and just kind of makes it flow a little bit better, I think. I mean, given it is obviously a little heavier than it was, and the wrist, you got to put a little bit more into it. But I think the wax is going to preserve it, make it last hopefully a whole lifetime and beyond. There we go. Well, I'm about to send it back to you, Ryan. I'm going to jump in the car here in a few minutes and say goodbye. So maybe in another 7 years, if you need a repair, send it my way, and I'd love to see it again. I'd like to believe that everything does happen for a reason. Maybe a seemingly accidental thing we do years ago was never truly an accident. One thing for certain that I can say is that this right here, this little braided tool, piece of art, whatever you want to call it, this thing has changed my life and has allowed me to make friends with great people who I would never have met otherwise. And I'm very thankful for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I feel like this video kind of had some, not depressing themes, but some, I don't know, it just had this kind of a sad feel to it at points. And I didn't intend that to be the case. But to leave you in good spirits, here's a video of a thirsty wasp drinking grape jelly from an eyedropper. If you guys enjoy these types of videos, maybe you just think it's weird, maybe you want to check more out. Up there in the right-hand corner, you can check out my second YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, guys.